US. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Channing Curtis. So the only thing we're not excited about is how cold it is.
You're wearing a cozy sweater this morning.
I am. I'm wearing my biggest, chunkiest sweater because I'm feeling comfy and cozy in here right now, Thomas, because this is pretty much the only thing that's going to save us from these cold temps.
Yeah, this is like good turtleneck weather
Yes.
for today. We have dropped another degree as of this hour across most of the inland Northwest, including here in Spokane, now at 5, which is likely going to be our low temperature for the day. In Deer Park, you're at -5, one of the colder days that we've had all winter long. Still a ways away from back on December 22nd when we hit -10 in Spokane. Remember when it was -19 in Pullman? Yeah, a far cry from that, but still, it is very cold out there. And even with just a little bit of a wind, makes it feel a little bit colder. Feels like 0 out of Coeur d'Alene and feels like -5 in Pullman, thanks to just a 5-mile-per-hour wind or so.
All right, we are tracking a shutdown on I-90 this morning. Washington State Patrol says a semi-trailer caught fire near Ellensburg. In the last 20 minutes, WSP tweeted out that one westbound lane is now back open. We'll keep you updated here on Up with KREM with any new details. This morning, we now know when the 5 former Memphis police officers charged in the beating death of Tyre Nichols will appear in court. CBS confirms they will be arraigned together on February 17th.
Now, protests broke out across the country following the release of that body camera footage on Friday. Here's what the protests looked like in Memphis, Portland, New York City, and Charlotte. Over the weekend, the Congressional Black Caucus released a statement calling for a meeting with President Joe Biden to push for national reform to the justice system. Now, the Black Caucus statement said, quote, "The brutal beating of Tyre Nichols was murder and is a grim reminder that we still have a long way to go in solving systemic police violence in America," end quote. Now, Memphis police initially said that Nichols was pulled over for reckless driving, but now the police chief says that there was no evidence of that even being true.
So the release of the footage has renewed demands for criminal justice accountability and reform. CBS's Jared Hill has more from Memphis.
Over the weekend, protests to honor Tyre Nichols after the city of Memphis released video showing the violent January 7th police arrest that led to his death 3 days later.
With the Nichols family.
The Memphis Grizzlies held a moment of silence before Sunday's game.
Prayers, to his family. It's just, mind-blowing and, scary.
Churches offered prayers.
We're praying for that young man's family, for his loved ones, for his friends. They're hurting, and we're hurting as well.
The city of Memphis is now preparing to lay Tyre Nichols, a 29-year-old dad who loved to skateboard, to rest in a public funeral on Wednesday.
I was very heartbroken to see brothers do that to the other brother, and it just made me sick to my stomach.
A February 17th bond arraignment hearing has been scheduled for the 5 ex-officers involved, according to Shelby County online court records. Each faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder. Several sheriff's deputies and fire department employees who were at the scene during the incident have been relieved of duty pending investigations amid calls for further disciplinary action.
Had first aid been rendered, maybe Tyre would have been beat up, bones broken, but he would still be alive. So those that just watched him die, they are to be held as accountable as the ones that beat and brutalized him.
Meanwhile, the Memphis police chief disbanded the Scorpion Anti-Crime Unit, which the 5 former officers charged belonged to. The DA says there had been complaints in the past. Jared Hill, CBS News, Memphis.
Now, following the release of the body camera footage, reactions poured in from local leaders in Spokane as well. So KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez joins us now from the newsrooms with more on this. Nicole, what did Spokane's NAACP chapter have to say?
Channing, NAACP Vice President Curtis Robinson told KREM 2 police brutality is not a new problem. He says it's just more documented now because of phone cameras and body camera footage.
And the reality is that no matter who you are, behind that badge, no matter what color you are behind that badge, the disproportionate treatment that people of color continue to receive is beyond disturbing and absolutely proven.
Many other local leaders across the inland Northwest sent out statements. After the city of Memphis announced they were going to release the video, Mayor Nadine Woodward and Police Chief Craig Meidel called the incident devastating and inhumane. They said Spokane is learning from it. The press release said, quote, "The Spokane Police Department has spent several years training and learning how to better approach volatile situations, how to use words and context to interpret actions and avoid or de-escalate confrontations." And here's a look at what WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins said. He called Nichols' death tragic and horrific, saying, quote, "I am disgusted by the actions of the former police officers who perpetrated this attack. I am glad they will be held accountable." And the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association also issued a statement. They say they are, quote, "disheartened that these 5 officers could be so void of human empathy and compassion that they would commit such a horrendous criminal act, an act which is really an affront to our very profession and our mission to protect and serve," end quote. We saw protests in several cities across the country this weekend. NAACP Vice President Robinson says he hopes people protest in meaningful ways and ask for real change. In the newsroom, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
It's 7:07 right now. Let's take a look at your morning rush. More news in less time. An Idaho man has been sentenced to 35 years in prison for threatening to shoot a school. In January of last year, Robert Green got into an armed standoff with police near an elementary school. During that standoff, Green made numerous threats to shoot at the elementary school and even passing cars. But thankfully, no students were in the school at that time. Well, this morning, closing arguments started in the Nathan Beal trial. He is suspected of killing Andrew Bull for practice in 2020 before murdering his ex-wife. Bull was homeless at the time of his death. Now, following these closing arguments, the jury is expected to begin deliberations. Boeing is looking to hire 10,000 workers this year, including here in Washington state. The positions will open up in Boeing's business units, engineering, and manufacturing. It's unclear, though, how many positions will open up in the Spokane area.